This is the Friday edition of Captive Audience, which, we found out, Sonny, um, or at least I found out. I posted in our Slack group. I found out that Captive Audience has a fair amount of impact on some of the things that happen in Oregon. Not earth shattering. We have a small but dedicated and extremely intelligent, good looking, and nice audience. But when I was at the meeting, I there was there's I think by the time I finally got out of the parking lot, there was about a dozen people that came up to me and said, "Hey, thank you for the Captive Audience show on this issue that the ORP was facing last Saturday in Madras." So that's good to know.
That is good to know. And it was. I thought it was really good, and I'm glad that we are able to reach some people. We want to have we cover so many topics here, and we want to expand our reach, of course. But I am glad that it helped out with last Saturday's meeting.
Yeah. As I was walking out, as a matter of fact, two people from the Douglas County delegation talked to me and said that they had made their decision based on the Captive Audience show. So I thought, well, good. And yes. I don't think there are actually people that I know personally. I mean, there's a lot of new people in that state central committee that I don't know personally. Still, I was surprised at how many people I do know in that state central committee. And it was good to see a lot of people that I hadn't seen for, since February of 20. When was the open primary fight? Was that 21 or 22? That was 21, wasn't it?
It was 21.
Yeah, that's the last time I'd been to a meeting. So Captive Audience does have some effect on things, apparently a positive effect, because there was a positive outcome there on things in Oregon. So there you go. Now, Democrats, on the other hand, don't have a positive effect on things in Oregon. And they're getting raked over the coals right now for their ties to, I don't know, should I say it, the drug cartel?
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. So that's Shamia Fagan you're talking about, right?
Yeah. The U.S. attorney in Oregon, or assistant attorney, whatever it is going after her because there's apparently more there, and I'm sure we mentioned that on this show. There's more there than meets the eye, and apparently the feds uncharacteristically would like to find out more about what's there with this particular Democrat.
Yeah, absolutely. So the feds are investigating 5 state agencies regarding this her extracurricular activity, her other job, her third job actually, and her ties with that. So they are looking at the Oregon's Department of Administration Services, Department of Revenue, the feds are, Government Ethics Commission, and Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission, and the Secretary of State's office. So federal subpoenas have been issued by the U.S. Justice Department for them, and we're going to have to see how this shakes out.
Yeah, we are, and I heard today that she's also been found to have misused state or misappropriated, fraudulently used state funds. So I would, I guess maybe saying I would expect an investigation by the state is a little optimistic, but there should be an investigation not only by the feds. And I think it's the drug money thing that's got something to do with that, because marijuana is federally illegal. So if you are selling marijuana even legally in a state, according to the feds, you are a drug dealer, and and subject to their whims. But I would imagine the state's got to look at her. Apparently she spent thousands of dollars taking her kids on state trips. spent state funds on taking her pets on trips.
Wow, I didn't know that. You know, she also never. We've got the donation money from the company, right?
Mhm.
And in fact, this scandal forced Tina Kotek to return her $68,000 donation from the pot business, but Shamia Fagan has not done that. She
Yeah, and
said,
yeah, and I still don't get how I still don't get how the governor and how anybody who accepted the money is giving it away to some NGO or charity when the Department of Revenue should be scraping that money, right? I mean, they owe payroll taxes, they owe income taxes, and they owe sales taxes. I think $500,000 in sales taxes. And
"Oh boy,
payroll taxes and sales taxes are the things that put a lock on your door.
oh, that's right. The company, the company, that's
Yeah,
exactly right. They
yeah,
owe lots of money."
yeah.
So you're absolutely right. That should be given
I mean,
back
if
to
you
them, and
even
I'm surprised it's not confiscated.
I mean, if you were a politician, wouldn't you, look at that and go, "I'm giving the money to the Department of Revenue because that's where the money should go." I mean,
Right, right.
optically, it would be, if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, I would, I don't know. If you're a Republican, I don't know. I'd probably keep the money, but because I don't like giving money to the state. But if you're a Democrat, yeah, I would think that you would go, "That's the right thing to do because that money belongs to the state." Uh, but yeah, it's kind of weird the way the whole thing's going. And my guess is she doesn't have the money to give back.
Well, it's apparently she has the money, but apparently it still remains in her pack. As of this article of today, that was actually yesterday by Willamette Week, the money is still in her pack.
Interesting. I guess I didn't read that one. And the other thing I heard, not only was she misappropriating state funds, her Secretary of State credit card, but she was also using campaign funds for vacations and stuff.
Oh boy. Oh boy, the tangled web we weaves, right?
Right.
And couldn't happen to a nicer person, you
Well,
know?
yeah, well, I've said it. I've said it once, and I'll say it again. Regardless of what you think about the legal pot industry in the state of Oregon, a lot of Republicans don't like it. Whatever you think about it, the legal pot industry in the state of Oregon did apparently take down one of the most far left, up and coming politicians in Oregon.
Right? There you go. Now that's a good thing. That was
Yeah,
an unintended consequence, right? And
right,
really to realize that she was peddling out of state because that's what they wanted her to do, to get it into other states, which
right,
was really cross the federal lines. You
right.
know,
Well, yeah, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was the way that they figured out. They figured there'd be no backlash because she wouldn't be working in the state of Oregon. But hell, she told the audit the people that were auditing the OLCC within the state of Secretary of State's office to consult with her on the audit. And who knows, what other phone calls were made. I mean, why are the shops still open that owe, probably $1 million or more in, in taxes to the state?
yeah. Yeah, it's that absolute conflict of interest in her position and over the audits and all of that, and then being in business with them as well. Absolute conflict of interest. And for her to be a a lawyer, no less, she knows better. She knows better.
She's not stupid.
No, no.
She's not. As a matter of fact, everybody that knows her says she's one of the smartest around. But
Yeah.
apparently, she needed money, and it appears that she was helping herself to quite a bit. So maybe she has expensive taste. I don't know.
Yes, I mean, and openly she said she didn't make enough money in the Secretary of State's job. She needed
Well,
more. She
I'll
left
agree
her.
with her on that. $77,000 ain't much.
No, no, it isn't.
There's all
But
the money.
it's the
There's
job
all the
you
money in the
ran
world
for.
20 years ago.
It's the job she ran for.
Right.
So she knew it going in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she
Yeah.
also thought, clearly she had other plans to help bring in some more money and ideas.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what kind of case is built out of these subpoenas, the state agencies that have been subpoenaed, and what kind of case will be made out against Fagan. And then I don't think Cazares and Mitchell are going to. I don't think they're going to do well in this either, because I think they're under a threat of a grand jury indictment as well. But it kind of harkens back to the thing we've talked about before is how much drug money is actually in. I'm not talking about the legal marijuana business money. I mean, I
Right.
know people in the legal marijuana business, and they're not big contributors. How much money, drug money, underground cartel or black market or whatever, drug money is in Oregon politics and other state houses and departments and stuff across the nation, because we look at the laws that are passed in the state of Oregon, and when you ask yourself about a law, who does this benefit? There's several laws that are either been passed or they're trying to pass. The answer to that question is cartels, sanctuary state.
You're right. Measure
Yep.
110.
Measure 110. Perfect.
That's
It's
perfect example.
Your customers don't get arrested,
Right.
so they continue to use, but it's still illegal, so you have no competition. Right? It's still illegal to manufacture and distribute and sell. And so it's perfect. And then House Bill 2002. I've called it the child sex trafficking assistance bill, because that seems to be the only person or the only group or the only special interest group, if you will. I guess maybe it is, and maybe they're making donations to get it passed. It seems to be the only one that they're benefiting.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that's a very good point. What is it the dark money that's here, the cartel money that's here, and what is and the narratives that it's pushing. Yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully they'll look, and Lynette and other people have commented, hopefully they'll look beyond the sacrificial lamb, which I think is Fagan. Because everybody else took that money too. The president of the Senate took it. The governor took it more even than Fagan. Val Hoyle, now she's CD4, a congresswoman from CD4 now. So I hope they keep looking. My guess is that they won't, because I think they have a predilection to protect Democrats throughout most of the both the federal and certainly the state, but I think the federal agencies as well. So we'll see. I hope they dig deep and root these people out. And if they are working for drug cartels, it just seems to me that they should be jailed.
Yes, they should. Yes, they should. So, we'll keep reporting on it, and we'll see what happens.
Right.
As this is coming out, we'll definitely see what happens. And
what else you got over there?
Speaking about the drugs, I just posted a story from the Gazette-Times about how here in Oregon, it says the headline is Oregon, Mecca of weed, to crack down on illegal pot growers by holding landowners responsible. And this story I'm bringing up because they're saying, wait a minute, if a landowner has got a grow on their property, we're going to punish them when they've busted it and cleaned because they're not cleaning it up. That's what it is. And so under this, there, where it has happened, some landowners are not cleaning the problems up that are associated with all of that. And
Right.
so then under this bill, local governments are authorized to file a claim of lien against property used for illicit marijuana if the owner doesn't pay for the cleanup. And, they said people should know, when in reading this article, people should know when somebody comes and says, hey, I'll pay you an exorbitant amount of money for a 1-year lease on your property. And, like 10 times what it ought to be, right? People ought to know that's something illicit. Well, I don't know. Some people might just be really gullible, don't you think?
Well, there's several facets to this story. So I think one of the most interesting facets to this story is that the people in Salem, in the House and Senate, and everywhere in the agencies that are extracting money to fight illegal growing operations, are woefully unaware that 90% of those operations have left the state, and they left last year. They left in 21.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. When I told a representative that, he goes, really? So what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep the money flowing. But the problem is really no longer here. There was the JMET, Joint Marijuana, whatever task force, or JTEF, or whatever it is, in down here in Southern Oregon. This is where everything is happening.
Right.
They're busting little grows now, and there's interesting people that that they suspect are not from this country.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's good.
Yes.
Even though they get in a court of law and they won't be extradited, so they'll just get out and do it again. But so that's one thing there. I mean, it's 90% of it is gone, and nobody seems to be telling anybody that, so they can keep this money flowing. But beyond that, I guess I'm not sure. I'm not sure where. I think it's just another ploy by far left politicians to mess with private property. I mean, the going rate was about $20,000, and most everybody in 2021 got stiffed. They got 10,000 up front, and they never got their 10,000 afterwards. And not only did they get stiffed, but they got left with a mess. Most of those messes are already cleaned up. And many of those properties have been or are now for sale as well.
Wow.
When I think of government seizing property, I think that there is virtually no reason to seize property. But that's just me. I was thinking about that earlier today. I was thinking, you know what? I'm not sure if I'm a Republican. I think I might be a libertarian.
And then what about the landowner who has leased their property to a grower? This is totally just speculation, but has leased their property to somebody, and that person subleases it to somebody that's going to grow something else. And the landowner actually is totally clueless on this. Now that's an innocent person.
Right.
That's left.
It is. Yeah, it is. It is.
By someone else.
And the other probably the thing that should be noted is that in 2021, when it was it was everywhere. Most of the landowners were told by the growers that they were growing hemp.
Right. That's exactly what this article says. They were growing hemp, and they actually weren't. And
There,
also
no, by 2020 and 2021, no one was growing hemp. It was what we call down here hemp.
too, I agree with you, David, about they shouldn't be able to seize the property. They can add a cleanup cost onto the tax bill. That's not seizing the property. But
Right.
to go seize a property because you haven't cleaned it up, no, you can fine them. You can go in and clean it, say you clean it up, or the state or the county or the whatever will clean it up, and then we'll bill you for it, and it goes on your tax bill. But to
Yeah.
seize property over that, no, I don't
No.
agree at all.
No, and you come down here, we just took a drive yesterday. I mean, I live in the middle of the mountains, so it's just 5 minutes to nowhere around here.
Yeah.
And we went out to nowhere, and we passed, dozens of properties that were far more messy and filled with junk and crap and stuff than any illegal grow I'd ever seen. So they're focusing on that because one, they know that it gains brownie points for the electorate, because marijuana is evil and it's just horrible and the crime and and all that stuff. And number two, they're trying to keep the money flowing. If they can lean the property and clean it up at a, I mean, I can't imagine. What is it? It might cost me $5,000 to have my field cleaned up, but what does it cost when the government orders it done? 15,000.
Right, exactly. And so I think the property owner will say, no, I'll take care of it. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take care of it.
But the other thing too, and I'm intimately involved in this. I have friends that I'm thinking of one friend right now. Her husband died a while back, some years ago. She's got 10 acres. She's trying to make a go of it. She sells milk. She sells eggs. She's trying to do whatever she can. She's planting hay or wheat or whatever. And she was approached, to grow some hemp. And, they offered her, I think, $10,000 or $20,000. And for whatever reason, the deal it didn't come through for her. But, she's looking at that and she's going, that's, all of my expenses for a year, and if you're sure it's okay and it's legal, and a lot of these things were ostensibly legal. They were registered hemp grow sites with the Oregon Department of Agriculture. And so there wasn't much enforcement going on, especially in 2021 is when they started. There was a law passed that allowed the state police or somebody to work with the Oregon Department of Agriculture, because it was ODA's job to go out and determine whether it was hemp or not. And they didn't have any funding, to do that, and so it was just wide open, and they were cartels. They were drug cartels, not only from the South, but also from Eastern Europe. But these again, my friend Carol, she looked at that and goes, yeah, if it's cool and I'm not going to get in trouble, man, you can definitely rent my 5 acres or whatever it is she had available. And I'll take that money. Now, if they had did that and they hadn't, they did that and maybe gave her, 10,000 down, or was going to give her 10,000 at the end, and then, walked away, which they all did in 2021. They all went to Oklahoma, by the way. So they're not out. Yeah. They're not done. They just moved. They moved to Oklahoma.
Right. Of course.
And if that had happened and she didn't get her other 10,000 or other 5,000, whatever it was, and she had a mess to clean out there, can she afford to get it cleaned up? Can she afford to pay the lien? I don't know. I don't like government involved in any of this crap. And really, the big issue is it's no longer really a problem. And it slays me that people in Salem think that there's still a problem. This particular representative said to me, he said, man, you guys are really getting hammered by the cartels down there, right? And he lives down here. He lives, in Curry County. And I said, Dave, they moved out in 21, dude. They're gone. They all went to
Well,
Oklahoma.
you need to go talk to more legislators about this, David.
Yeah, well, they all want their money. They all want their talking points, and it's just, I don't know. It's not the problem that they're trying to make it out to be. Is it a problem? Yeah, there's still some. There's still some. There's a few. But I mean, if you get right down to the brass tacks, there's probably more than you think, because the people who are growing it, medical marijuana, it's all registered, it's all legal, it's all regulated by the state of Oregon, but it's illegal. They're selling it on the black market. They're not paying taxes on it. So.
Right. So, hey, we have a little bit of good news. A superintendent in Central Oregon has resigning. And that is Crook County School District Superintendent Sarah Johnson. And she announced on Wednesday that she's going to resign next month because when the newly elected conservative school board takes control. So tell me that, elections don't have consequences. Here's the superintendent is going to resign in Crook County. And in a blunt statement, she said that the election of 3 new board members played a significant role in her decision. And it became evident the new board members do not share my vision or mission for district leadership.
So what she was saying is she's going to get fired.
So she's leaving, and you know what? The elections, they elected 3 conservative people to the board. Hooray!
Yeah.
Hooray! That's what we want in our school board elections.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Show yourself to the door. Yeah. Self-deport, because you know what's coming, and it's happened. And I know that Democrats in one session, what was it, 20 or 21 or something, either tried to or passed a law saying that school board administrators or superintendents couldn't be fired by the school board. Do you remember that?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh, baloney. No way. The school boards are in charge.
Well, they damn well should be, and I think her exit probably indicates that she believes that is in fact the case. So, yeah, the schools are well. I mean, we've talked about it ad nauseum on this show, but the schools are just it just seems like they're a lost cause. But maybe if we get enough good people on the school boards, we can at least keep them from going farther down into the hole.
Right. And so these 3 people that ran for the school board, they ran on the promise to the Crook County voters that parental rights would be valued in all aspects, as it should be. It's not, the school is not your parent, and you don't co-parent. So good for them.
Yeah, really good for them. Really good for them. I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy to see it. It makes me laugh.
Well, like I said, we have some good news.
Yeah.
We got to have good news on Friday.
Yeah.
Go out.
I could see that. I could see that on election night in May. She goes, crap, I'm out of here.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I got to move west of the mountains. Well, I think, I don't know if we ever covered it on the show. If we did, I wasn't on the show, but I think we did fairly well across Oregon in the school board elections, didn't we?
I don't know state or across the state, but I know there were some counties that did well. We picked up 3 seats in Umatilla County over on the west side. 1 was reelected, which is great, but we picked up 3 seats. And that's a good thing. It's, you chip away. And I think that's good. Patty says Klamath did excellent. And that's, what this is about. Another win in election.
North Marion did well. My old alma mater. I think we picked up 3.
And that's good. You're not going to turn the whole thing, but you just have to keep chipping away and be actively going into the meetings and see who needs to be replaced. And see when they're going to be up for reelection, and be engaged with that. Also, something that I found a little humor with. So Wallowa County's ballot measure passed for the secession plan, okay, the Greater Idaho Movement. And Senator Jeff Merkley, over this past weekend says, oh, no, we don't want to do that. And so kudos to Wallowa County getting it passed. Every vote counts. I don't know what the tally was on that, but it did pass.
Good.
So now there are more counties in that.
Yeah. I think there's a snowball chance in hell of it ever happening, but yeah.
So now I think it's 13 counties, which is 63% of the state's land mass, 9% of the population.
Wow, really?
And yeah.
Wow, 63% of the land mass holding 9% of the population.
Yes. That's according to what Merkley said.
Really?
And so I just kudos to Wallowa County. Here in Umatilla County, we were there was a group last year or year before that tried to gather signatures for it, and the citizens of Umatilla County says, we're not signing, we got to fight. And but we're now surrounded on both sides by counties that pass that. So I think we're just going to get swallowed up with it. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Is the county commissioners going to put it on a ballot as an advisory vote?
No, not ours isn't. But in fact, we do have a story about an advisory vote. 2 ballot measures in Clackamas County are going to go to advisory measures that are challenging the state drug laws. And so in Clackamas,
Measure 110?
the commission. Yes. Yep. So it's going to be on the ballot for May of 24. And the 2 measures are, number 1, should legislators representing Clackamas County introduce and pass legislation repealing provisions of Measure 110 that decriminalize legal drugs, including for juveniles. And the other measure is, should Governor Kotek call a special legislative session to address Measure 110's drug decriminalization and its impact on crime and homelessness.
Yeah. Well,
I'll tell you, Measure 110 is just awful for Oregon. Awful.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the problem with legalizing the use. If you're going to have the manufacture and distribution illegal, then you should probably have the use illegal. If you're going to have the use legal, then you should probably take control of the manufacturing and the distribution, right?
Yeah.
Because we're getting people from all over the country, right? Coming here because they know that they can use drugs with impunity.
Yes.
And we have these district attorneys that won't prosecute the people that are selling the drugs or importing the drugs or manufacturing the drugs either.
Nope.
So it's kind of a recipe for disaster. And the homelessness situation is caused by drug and alcohol addiction. These people, you can't put these people in homes, right? You can't put somebody that smokes or shoots heroin or fentanyl all day long into a house. They're not going to live in a house. They're not going to do the dishes or sweep the floors or pay their rent or take the garbage out. I mean, you see them in the videos that our friend Angela posts on PDX Reel, and they're wiped out. They
are wiped out.
Yeah,
they are absolutely wiped out. And to see some of these videos, and I watched one recently, it wasn't on PDX, but of Portland, and it was just as the camera panned, and it was one person after another, and they're hiring a kite. Some are standing, leaning against something, or on the ground, in various stages of about to pass out, and drug-induced stupor.
Yeah.
Sad to see.
Yeah, well,
Sad to see.
it's it's you can have these drugs legal, right? You can have them legal, but you can't not enforce the laws, right? Marijuana is legal, but you
That's
can't,
right.
you can't drive while you're stoned. You can't, give it to children. You can't, same thing with alcohol. You can drink, but you can't drink and drive. You can't be drunk and disorderly. And
You can't be drunk in public.
right, and no matter drug or no drug, you can't steal. You can't assault people. You can't.
Right.
There's basic, decency requirements for living in a civilized society that there are no longer any consequences for in the state of Oregon, mostly in the cities, but it metastasizes in other portions of the state. I mean, we have a fair amount of homeless people in Grants Pass and even my little town, Cave Junction. We there's not a lot of there's not a lot of growth in that here because the police, they're just not fond of it. My
Right.
my other town, Hubbard, you can't set up a tent in Hubbard. You can't deal drugs in Hubbard. I saw
Right.
I saw a video the other day. Some woman was taking a video of the sergeant who's a Democrat, and we don't agree, but he's a decent guy. He was telling her, he's saying, I just don't want you in our town. And she says, well, you can't tell me not to be here. And I said, well, yeah, I can tell you not to be here. We don't want you here. You're, whatever it is you're doing, you're just not doing anything that we want to be done. And you just, you can't do that because once you allow that to happen, and all of these probably in your city as well, and many other cities, once you allow it to happen, it just spreads. And, fortunately there's sheriffs and small town police officers, that are on it and not letting it happen.
Yes.
But, it's so overrun in the big city in Portland and
Yes.
Salem.
Yes, it is.
It's just, I don't know how you fix it from here. I mean, it's going to take years to fix it,
So today I was reading about, there was apparently a pilot program, and in Portland or Salem, a pilot program that was a 5-year program that the state will come in, and if you allow them, they'll build a house in your backyard. And a homeless person, part of it is the contract is they'll live in the house for 5 years, and then afterwards they move out and you get to keep the little house in your backyard. Well, they had 100 people. They had 100 people apply for the program. 4 people were accepted. 2 houses were built. And the pilot just ended the 5 years. So in 5 years,
it cost $100 million.
And they had I don't remember the size of the budget. It was like $250,000 budget or so. And, but what happened is our state kept taking this project and giving it to a different organization and passing the hat, and that organization would pass it to another organization. So there was no continuity, there was no oversight. And so agencies, these NGOs or whatever, they got a lot of money. They got money to administer the project that for 5 years, they actually built 2 houses and had only accepted 4 applicants. And one, it gets worse. One person, the one house, the person, they lived in it for 5 years, and now they're moving out this summer, and the woman gets to keep the house. The other one of the house that got built, the homeless person lived, her and I think it was a daughter, lived in it for 4 months and left, and nobody was ever put back in the house. They never saw anybody or anything. And the people were saying that had signed up for this, saying, yes, you can put one in my backyard. They were quite disappointed that the state's oversight. But what have we seen the state do right? Remember the whole unemployment debacle in the beginning of COVID? Look at our DMV is not even up and functioning. We've have what
Cover
what do you
Oregon.
see? Cover Oregon. Oh, hello.
$200 million to think about building a bridge and never build it.
Right. Right. So, yeah. Not a lot of confidence there.
No, that's funny. That's a funny. Well, I mean, it's a sad story.
It is,
because it burned up a lot of taxpayer money. But just
$250,000 and a pilot project and the road to nowhere, the house to nowhere.
Yeah, I guess it's cheaper than studying a bridge that you never built for $200 million.
Right. Well, hey, I wish everybody to have a great weekend, and believe it, there is good news out there, despite our president being former President Trump being indicted. I read today a headline: he's going to get 100 years. Oh, baloney! Let's go and something a coincidence. Is it a coincidence that Trump was indicted at the same time that the Biden bribery documents are revealed? That Joe got 5 million and Hunter got 5 million?
Could be. It's all smoke and mirrors. Don't look here. Look over here.
Yes.
Look, a squirrel.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Bobby, I want to know, when do the indictments happen on the Democrats? 100%. I want to know that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's a great question.
It is a great question. Ponder that this weekend. We still live in the best country in the world, and we have a lot of work to do to turn it around and save it.
We do. Well, thanks, Sonny. It was fun to do Friday with you, and thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for all the great comments, and have a great weekend.